update. It's a catastrophe. The line to get into BookCon, it is down near the highway, wrapped around buildings.
I got in line, but I was literally pushed and shoved out of the way, and I got back in line and I was pushed and shoved out of the way once again. There was absolutely zero decorum. There was no moderation from the staff members.
I spent more money on food and drinks because I could not shop. There was no space. It was completely just like a mess, because if I wanted to get my book signed, I had to find my way to my signing and make sure I was there so that I wouldn't get trampled.
And the few people in these spaces who don't know how to behave, you're all going to ruin it for everybody else. And it's just so unfair.
This is really starting to seem fishy, because what do you mean that a lot of these people weren't able to get any reservations?
And it was a literal war zone, crowds, chaos, pushing, shoving. Literally, someone caused my sister to have a panic attack because they pushed a sign that fell on top of her.
Because again, you people do not know how to behave properly. It's gross.
Okay, so in 2026, after 6 whole years of going MIA, BookCon finally made a reappearance, promising a literary celebration, intending this event to be like a cozy, aesthetic comeback as the world's biggest book convention. But what people actually got was absolute consumer Coachella-like chaos. I'm talking $400 VIP tickets that got you basically nothing. And I'm also talking about like Lion King Stampedes over free books that ended up on eBay for the price of a rent payment. We even saw viral cancellations of a best-selling author over a literal 30-second TikTok clip. Today we're breaking down the BookCon 2026 disaster and why so many people are leaving comments like this one.
Why on earth would I want anything to remember this weekend? My entire nervous system would probably have a trauma response every time I see the logo for a very long time.
Yeah, let's get into the chaos. Okay, so according to Google.com, BookCon is a 2-day immersive fan convention, and it was reborn this year in 2026 at the New York City Javits Center. And so this is where storytelling meets pop culture, featuring, author signings, exclusive panels, and publisher exhibits. It basically caters to readers, acting like a Comic-Con for literature, which focuses on genres like romance, fantasy, and young adults. And so it's basically a convention for bookworms all over the world, and it's run by ReadPop, who are the organizers behind Comic-Con, the Star Wars celebration, and the Penny Arcade Expo. So according to their flyer, they promised fan-first, events, a lot of immersive experiences, guaranteed author access, and high-value exclusive items. But before we get into that, I want to start and follow the money part first, because I think this is where things start off on a crazy foot, right? So even to get through the door, people were already dropping some serious cash. VIP tickets were $400, sold on the promise of guaranteed signings and ARC drops. And just a side note, if you don't know what an ARC is, it's basically an advanced reader copy. So it's an uncorrected raw copy that is meant for just reviewers, right? And proofreaders. It's supposed to be free, but at BookCon 2026, these things became like the hot thing, like almost like a Neato squishy. The reservation system is where people really started tweaking out, because people waited and sat in digital queues for almost an hour just to find out that every big author that would be there was already sold out. So imagine paying $400 for this immersive VIP experience when all you got was basic general admission treatment. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. So there's this strange thing that's happening right now in how people are making money in 2026. And honestly, I don't think that we're talking about the reality of it enough. So yeah, I think people do want to make more money, but people are essentially exhausted. And so that's the part that really clicked for me, that people are walking away from the hustle mentality of uncertain income to looking for something that they can actually count count on. And so because of that, I've been looking into roles that actually offer that balanced structure and the consistency, but without giving up the remote flexibility that we've all grown to love. That's why I've partnered with Cecilia Health. Cecilia Health is a virtual specialty medical practice that is dedicated to improving the metabolic health outcomes across different populations. They are looking for remote registered dietitians to do one-on-one member support, helping people manage chronic conditions and actually see health results. So I think what's so cool about this is that it is meaningful work. You get the remote setup and a flexible schedule, but the hours are dependable as well. And what I love is that they source the members for you so you can focus on helping these individuals. And the pay is also very transparent depending on how long you've been credentialed with the CDR. It's that rare middle ground where you don't have to exactly choose between a life and a reliable paycheck. And so I just think that this change we are seeing right now is very real, because in 2026, we are redefining what that security looks like. So it's about what makes sense for the long haul and not just what looks good for a moment. And so honestly, I think roles like this are going to be a much bigger part of that conversation moving forward. So if you are a registered dietitian looking for that kind of stability, I put the Cecilia Health link in the details in my description box down below for you to check out.
BookCon update. It's a catastrophe. HarperCollins sold out of ARC giveaway tickets, and Penguin Random House, the line is insane. The line to get into BookCon for general admission, if you were not VIP, good luck. It is down, they were telling me, near the highway, wrapped around buildings. Y'all, this is insane. There's no structure, just mess.
All right. So someone said BookCon was one of the worst experiences for a paid event I've ever had. They need to genuinely hire coordinators who work events like San Diego Comic-Con or Disney Expo. BookCon has no clue how to handle this level of crowd, and it shows. Like someone mentioned previously, it has been a few years since they've been out of the game. They've been out since 2020 or the year before 2020. And so we know that year, everything was basically shut down. And so they've been in hiding for some time. And you would think, okay, they had enough time to strategize and plan their huge comeback. But people are very disappointed and they are ranting and mad.
I still had a good time. It's just Saturday was absolutely insane. Y'all are feral for books. I don't know what was going on, but the lines were insane. I just feel like they did not do a great job with the app. They didn't do a great job with just the overall scheduling and the way that they dropped arcs and only had 50, and it was just a lot of mayhem. And I think they weren't anticipating the numbers. I get it. It's been 7 years. So
okay, so the comments here. Someone said premium VIP was not worth it. Some things were good, but overall the amount it cost was not justified. So this is someone who paid $400 saying that it basically was not equaled out to what she paid. Someone said the VIP experience wasn't worth it. This is another person saying this. We didn't get any premiums that matched the high price I paid. I wouldn't attend again. The thing is, we're seeing a lot of events popping up all over in 2026 that the attendees are saying the same thing, that they paid so much money and they left with nothing, or the event was a flop. Why are we seeing so much of these, event slop moments in 2026 where people are paying a whole lot with the promise to get exclusivity?
Thank you for this comment, because a lot of people think that the people who are complaining about BookCon are entitled because they didn't get free arcs or free books, and that you shouldn't expect that when you're going to a convention. And maybe for other conventions that is the case, but when it comes to BookCon, that was literally what was advertised. My friend is an OG Instagrammer, and she's been doing this for years, and she's been to multiple BookCons. And this is a picture of her haul from a previous BookCon, and this is all the free stuff she got: chapter samplers, books, arcs, all kinds of things. And this is what people were expecting. So that's why those tickets sold out so fast. That's why we were so excited to go to this thing, because that's what you were expecting. I don't know if it's because the management companies had switched from previous years to this new company, and maybe ReadPop just didn't understand the assignment, and they were like, oh, it's just books. And they didn't understand the community and how much it means to us and what it means to be able to meet your favorite authors. But they really truly dropped the ball on this one. It was not entitlement. It was not, they weren't expecting to spend money. I had money with me. I was ready to spend my money. I spent more money on food and drinks because I could not shop. There was no space. You couldn't look at anything. It was completely just like a mess. I could not take the time to shop around, because if I wanted to get my book signed, I had to find my way to my signing and make sure I was there so that I wouldn't get trampled when I tried to line up. Or if there was a possibility of maybe kind of sort of possibly getting an ARC, I had to be in that area so that I did not die when it came time to line up, because they wouldn't let you line up in advance.
So let's talk about the ugly part of BookCon. So I am a smaller bookstagrammer. I have been for years. So the only one I tried for on Saturday was HarperCollins, which unfortunately became a bloodbath. It wasn't very clear what time does your ARC drop start. Like, are there any rules? When should I get ready for it? When do I have to be here? Whatever. They told me 10:10 for the 10:30 drop. And I said, fine, that's perfect. I'll be back at 10:10. So I ended up wandering, looking around the other booths. And by the time I circled back around 10:10, the chaos had already started. So apparently there were a lot of people who had been waiting since 9 a.m., even though they were told that they were not allowed to, and that they would not honor fan-made bards. To their credit, the poor employees at HarperCollins were trying to disperse, which is unfortunately a recurring theme throughout this whole BookCon, is these poor employees getting shit on constantly. I had overheard someone threatening to shove people to the ground, and I was like, there's no way that this person is serious. And when I looked in their eyes, they were dead serious. Like, I've never experienced anything like that over a book. Like, it's not that serious, because to me, again, getting an ARC is a privilege. I will get to read the book when everybody else gets to read the book in a few months. And that's the way I look at it. If I get one, I get one. If not, I read it in a few months. It's not a big deal. Like, I'm going to read the same story as everybody else, and I will love it just as much as I would now, in however many months the book takes to come out. When they started handing out tickets, I watched those poor employees get shoved and crowd crushed, and it was the most disheartening thing. Impolite people were, and there were a lot of people that were just waiting their turn and being very polite about it. But a lot of people tried to jump ahead of people. There was a woman with a stroller that was in the middle of the chaos, and when people were trying to surge to get the ticket, a gentleman and I started yelling that they needed to step back because there's a woman with a toddler here, and that they need to calm down, because first of all, you shouldn't be going up to an employee like that, and second of all, oh my god, like, why are we doing a crowd crush over books? The next day I was in a line for a non-reservation signing. The only rule was that you had to show up, I believe, 20 minutes before the signing in order to get in line. Unfortunately, those employees as well, again, tried to keep people from just hanging out there. But unfortunately, there was another crowd crush. And it was just being stuck in the middle of all that was just so unbelievable. I'm not claustrophobic, but it was crazy. Like, obviously I'm not hurt. I'm like very grateful that no one was, at least to my knowledge, no one was hurt. But it was just crazy seeing people push and shove each other to get an author's signature. Like I said, I've truly never experienced anything like that. And then for a lot of the people that were pushing and shoving to get these ARCs to turn around and sell them immediately, like, there are ARCs being sold right now is from BookCon is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't want to go on a whole separate tangent because this is a conversation for another day, but stop buying ARCs. Stop buying things from scalpers. You're only feeding into him, and this is why they act like this, and this is why they can push and shove people out of the way to get these things, because they are selling them. I just hope that when BookCon comes back next year that they have a larger space where they can control the crowds a lot better, and they have much better security or someone to help these vendors be able to control the crowds.
Here is my experience as someone who went to BookCon NYC for the first time in 2026 on day 2, Sunday. Sunday was allegedly less busy because less people wanted to go after going yesterday, and honestly I can't blame them, but even with it being less busy, oh my god, was it still chaotic. I personally think they must have oversold the shit out of this thing because it was way more like LineCon. It seemed like the only line that I was in that was actually good was the LaCroix line. They had that moving. Overall, I was very disappointed in the ARC drops. I understand that the people working at the con are just doing their job, so I don't blame them, but I was really appalled by some of the situations I was put in, like at Sourceboats, the line, I almost got trampled multiple times, and then I was really disappointed in the quantity that some publishers brought. Penguin Random House basically sold out of all their stuff immediately for the drops, and even the signings. Honestly, even the authors in Indie Alley had no stock left, and a lot of the shops that had closed had like no options remaining. Reporting live from BookCon, disheveled. That was me after we called it quits at 2:30 because we gave up.
Earlier today, reservations for some signings and panels went live for GA, but that also included VIPs who weren't able to get what they wanted the first round. However, in a post that BookCon released today, talking about the con and sorry you didn't get what you wanted, it started to seem like a lot of people were not actually able to get any reservations. Some people were able to get at least one, but a lot of the comments are saying, hey, I got absolutely nothing. What gives? While I do understand, because I've been on the bandwagon of some of y'all haven't been to conventions, this is really starting to seem fishy, because what do you mean that a lot of these people weren't able to get any reservations? I would say, though, this con seems to be very heavy on like author signings and meet and greets and all that, whereas other conventions that I've been to, mainly Comic-Con conventions and like game conventions, they have other things and activities throughout the con to do. So, you know, signings and meet and greets are not the priority for most, but for this sort of convention, it does seem like that is a priority for most attendees, which raises the question, what can BookCon do to better this next time around if people do decide to come back for round 2 next year? However, a lot of people have pointed out that this post that they released, a letter from our event director, seems very patronizing, and I agree. It's very patronizing, very condescending. It kind of tells you, hey, there's other stuff to do at a convention besides author signings. Sorry you couldn't get what you wanted. And it's really leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Some people are saying, I want a refund. I do not want to participate in this event anymore. Get me out.
So he's right, because someone here in the comments section said, I got my PVIP ticket refunded. Between how they were handling things, I didn't feel like it was what I was paying for. They must agree, because they gave the refund in about 4 emails. So she got her money back. She was absolutely uninterested in all of the stuff going on, and she was disgruntled, like a lot of people were when they went to this high ticket event.
I don't know if it was due to the weather today. We were ushered inside. We were ushered into this really big room, and it was kind of roped off with this yellow like cape. I was about the 3rd row in, and it was really empty when I got there, but like maybe within 30 minutes, like the entire place filled up.
Wow.
Kind of had a sense that once we were ushered in or allowed to go in, that it was kind of going to be like a free-for-all. It was a little pandemonium when they let us in, even if they were letting us in row by row. really had no game plan, to be honest. Again, I had no reservations. I kind of looked at the map and I decided to go to Indie Alley first. There's a lot of exhibitors. It was fairly empty by the time I got in. The one thing I will say is on the third floor, the third floor just felt really chaotic for me. I'm not going to even lie to you. It is a little overwhelming. There's massive amounts of people walking in different directions. There's just no real organization. And that kind of threw me off. I wasn't anticipating just everything being all over the place. Will I invest and go back again next year? I don't know.
And then I'm hearing that throughout the event, they had moments where like you would get a push notification when like a certain thing was available. And so there was also a pandemonium surrounding people trying to hurry up and get to that. I don't know, it might have been a free item. I don't know what it was, but you have people there for different reasons, running this way, running that way. It's already crowded and filled to the max. This would cause people to go into a panic attack because there's just so many people, so much noise going on, and you're mentally stressed out just trying to get your favorite book and see your favorite author. And then for those that actually paid for VIP tickets, you're still a part of the madness because you're right in the same room as the general admission ticketers. And so you're still stressed out. You're still waiting on lines. You're still may not even be leaving with the things that were promised to you, the free goodies, the free books, the access to the authors and the chit chats with the authors. People left spending a whole lot and getting basically nothing in return. Now, when the physical book drops actually happened at the BookCon convention, this is where that Lion King Stampede analogy that I mentioned earlier comes in, because there was absolutely no structure at all. It was a complete mob. People were fighting, people were pushing, shoving people to the floor over books that clearly stated not for sale. So you get to wonder, okay, well, why are people acting like this for books? Well, my theory is that not everyone was there for the love of books, and we know this because not even a few hours later, those same freebies were already hitting eBay for nearly $600.
At this point, I'm not even so sure that ARCs should be a thing anymore. Like, if publishers and authors stop sending them out, I wouldn't completely blame them, because the behavior of some of the people in book spaces, you know what? We don't deserve them. We don't deserve them. And you know what? It's not just because of all the controversy surrounding R.F. Kuang right now. It's not just because everybody read 2 pages of a circulating ARC and decided to cancel her and put her on a public shame list. No. It's also because of the behavior that some people had around ARCs at places like BookCon. So again, between BookCon, between the cancel culture, if I was an author, if I was a publisher, you wouldn't catch me dead sending ARCs out to anybody right now. And the thing that really upsets me about this is ARCs are such a privilege. Like, it's so exciting when you receive an ARC, okay? And the few people in these spaces who don't know how to behave, you're all gonna ruin it for everybody else. And it's just so unfair. Like, I feel like I'm back in grade school where one kid in class doesn't know how to behave, so everybody has to stay inside for recess. Like, that's truly what this entire situation is giving. And one of my little 2026 bookish predictions is that until everybody starts cleaning up their act, I truly think that publishers are going to be much more selective about who receives ARCs, who they're sending things to, because again, you people do not know how to behave properly. It's gross. This past weekend, I went to BookCon in New York City, and I want to address one of the elephants in the room. And I say one of the elephants because there's a lot of elephants in this room, but today we're going to talk about book ARCs. In general, I think that we're going to have a larger conversation about the behavior of some people in the book community, because what I saw this weekend, oh my God, grown women shoving one another out of the way for book ARCs, for special editions. Like, have you ever left your house before? Have you ever interacted with people in real life? Because based on this past weekend, you could have fooled me.
Yeah, I think my thought is that not everyone was there for just, a book purchase. They wanted to get their hands onto something that was exclusive so that they can go ahead and resell it. We've been seeing scalpers hit every market possible, and now they're hitting the literature book niche, right? So they are everywhere, and anywhere where you can find yourself a quote unquote exclusive product, just know that the scalpers will be right there with their eyes on the same product so that they can go ahead and sell it on eBay.
I think the thing that frustrates me the most is that there are so many of us, myself included, who are constantly fighting for women's interests, the legitimacy of women's literature in the book space. And to see grown women behaving like this, you know what? We're not beating the allegations and you're not helping the cause. But some of you, I don't know why you're here, but I think a lot of the negativity surrounding BookCon is because of the behavior of the guests who were visiting. And just a quick note on the book arcs, because that's actually why I was making this video. You're not entitled to book arcs. They are a privilege. Whatever book arc you were trying to get, that book will eventually come out. Don't worry, you will have the opportunity to read it. You don't have to push a fellow reader out of the way. Honestly, do better. Like, please do better next time. Or honestly, stay at home. I said what I said.
I have a lot to say when it comes to the ARC drops and how they were handled as somebody who was a general admission BookCon goer. Now, one of the reasons why I was so excited to attend BookCon was because I knew it would be an opportunity for me to get ARCs. And as somebody who does not receive them ever really, it was a big deal for me. I review books on YouTube, and the opportunity to get some of the most anticipated releases for 2026 early so I could review them early was a big deal. I only got 2 arcs at BookCon, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. The first one was Breakout, and the second one was another Penguin Random House arc. For each arc drop, I was there 2 hours early, or as early as humanly possible. For Tessa Bailey's arc, they gave away the tickets for it at 10 o'clock, and they gave away the actual arcs at 10:30, and general admission didn't get into the convention center until 10. So when I tell you I got there bright and early, I was outside of Javits at 6 a.m. I waited outside of Javits, and I was one of the first 20 or 30 people inside of the convention center. Okay. I got in line, but I was literally pushed and shoved out of the way, and I got back in line, and I was pushed and shoved out of the way once again. There was absolutely zero decorum. There was no moderation from the staff members. It was crazy. At the end of the day, I think part of the problem is that I am not a bloodthirsty kind of person. Like, when things got crazy and people started to genuinely scare me with some of the stuff that they were saying, I just walked away. Even if I had been waiting in line for a considerably long period of time, I would walk away. There was a period where I was waiting for Elsie Silver's Fever Dream arc drop, and the other people in line were talking about how they weren't going to be nice anymore and about how they were willing to trample people to get this book. I was a little bit scared at that Fever Dream drop. I'm not even joking with you. And obviously I walked away with nothing. So that shows you that I didn't have it in me to fight these people for these books.
Okay, so if you want to know why the Barnes & Noble's Fest went so bad and why so many people were talking about how people were behaving and pushing and shoving, I'm going to show you exactly why. Because it all has to do with money. A lot of the readers who went there, they genuinely love reading. They love these arcs. They are going to keep them and cherish them forever. But a majority of them are just picking up these books and grabbing whatever they can so that they can resell it and make money. When you receive an arc, you are not supposed to resell it. It is not for resale. They print it right there on the book. Even when you get an e-arc, you're not supposed to redistribute it. You're not supposed to do that. But at this Barnes & Noble Fest, people have so much access to so many arcs where they wouldn't traditionally reach out to a publisher or get it through a PR box. So it's kind of anonymous who is getting these arcs, and then they're reselling it. And I'm about to show you how much money these people are selling these arcs for. It's crazy. Here's one that was sold 7 hours ago. And this is a free book that somebody received. Here is another one. Again, sold for a ridiculous amount of money.
That is a ridiculous amount of money. And the fact that they leave with such a huge profit because they put no money into these books. They got it for free, and now they're flipping it for $200? Are you kidding me?
This book was free and is not for resale, but people are still selling them. And this one probably was the one that got me the most upset because this price is ridiculous.
Wow.
And you can go on Mercari now and you can see that a lot of people are still selling these arcs for hundreds of dollars. And I find that practice completely disgusting because, first of all, you're not supposed to sell arcs. They are not for resale. And second of all, there are a bunch of readers who would have genuinely loved to have this piece of art and to keep it and cherish it forever and would not have sold it for money. And I think that that is why that event went the way it went and why people were so aggressive, because money makes everything evil.
Hello and welcome to part 3 of shaming people who are selling their arcs that they received at BookCon. If you're new here, BookCon was this past weekend in New York City, and it was a literal war zone to get an arc for free from a publisher. Like, crowds, chaos, pushing, shoving, people were rude. Literally, someone caused my sister to have a panic attack because they pushed a sign that fell on top of her, and now there are people that received these highly in-demand arcs and are selling them on the internet for lots and lots of money. So we are here to shame them. First up, we have this account.
$250.
Trying to sell an arc that was given out by Bookish Box for $250. So, you know the drill. Shame. Shame. Next, we have this account. Shame. We have Once Upon a Demon's Heart, again, for $500. See that it was posted again today by this Books to Go account, which I have previously shamed on here in my first video. So here we are again.
And these are books that might cost maybe $50 maximum, right? So why in the world is someone charging 10 times that amount? And they were probably one of those that were pushing and shoving and causing a huge pandemonium at the BookCon event.
I have this one going for over $200.
Let's look at the comments. So someone said, I just don't understand how it's profitable. Are there that many people willing to pay $500 for a book they could get for retail a few months later? That's my question too. Like, are you that impatient that you would be willing to just spend it all just for a book that if you just waited maybe a few weeks later, a month or two, you could get it for way significantly less? That's insane. But I feel like people think that the exclusivity of it all makes it feel more valuable. And so they are willing to pay more money for it. And maybe some of them might be scalpers that are willing to invest the money to then flip that high price that was already high 10 times over and then still have people buying from them. So someone else said, folks brought their significant others, family members, just to get double of the high value arcs for trading / selling. And that hurts me so much because I know folks were waiting over an hour just for a chance at one. So it was a madhouse. People were truly going off. Like she said, or a previous person mentioned that, or she said that one of her friends went into a full panic attack. Like this is BookCon. People should be acting a little bit more cultured and more reserved, or more like they have, manners. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual floor. So the Javits Center is this big popular event space. They host a lot of big events and they attract people from all over the world. But apparently those organizers for BookCon, they only used a small fraction of the space, and so this actually created some kind of weird back-end logistical glitches.
We are in here like cattle. Wow. I get they're trying to get us inside because of rain coming, but how is this safe? How is this safe? They told us when we got here to take 2 steps more than you thought you were going to before you sit down. Wow. The hell, we are smashed in here. Oh.
Wow. What? I didn't think people were still reading anymore. This is showing me that I am so wrong. But of course, some of these might be scalpers. But for it to be this packed out. Okay, so what do we take away from all of this madness? Well, the Read Pop organizers for the BookCon event, they eventually put out a statement saying or acknowledging demand outpaced projections, which I think is basically their apology for having sold way more tickets than they probably should have because, you know, the money. So just when you thought that BookCon 2026 would be like this quiet breakaway from all of the mad, crazy, loud consumerism of the world, it basically proved to be just as bad, but with a library card. When free books become $600 assets and people are getting hurt over signed pages, we know that things have really gotten out of hand. So was it a disaster? I think logistically speaking, it was. But for the publishers who sold out and the scalpers who ran out with a bag, I think it was their best weekend of the year. But I want to know, and let us know down below in the comments section, would you pay $400 to stand in a line for a book that you may or may not even get? Now listen, I love a good book, and just a side note, this book here is my current obsession, and honestly I would love to meet this author, talk her head off to oblivion about the storylines, the characters, but for $400, I don't know. Do you guys think that TikTok BookTok has finally gone too far? I want to know what you guys think. Let us know down below in the comment section. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd enjoyed it, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe for many more videos just like this one. Comment on the way out, and we will see each other in the next one.